and the All Indiana Podcast Network. This is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast, a Wish TV News 8 update.
Hello, I'm Jeremy Jenkins, and this is your News 8 Daily 8 Podcast for Wednesday, April 30th. We begin with an update to the Fox Hollow Farms case. Another victim has been identified. Daniel Thomas Halloran is now the 10th confirmed victim of serial killer Herb Baumeister. Investigators say they were able to use new DNA technology to identify Halloran. The Hamilton County coroner says there could be as many as 25 additional victims still unaccounted for. Baumeister is believed to have killed dozens of men in the 90s, but he took his own life before police could arrest him. If you have any information about missing persons that could be connected to the case, you are encouraged to contact the Hamilton County Coroner's Office. Public health departments across the state are losing millions of dollars in state and federal funding. This could have a huge impact on local healthcare services. News 8's Garrett Bergquist reports.
Public health officials here in Johnson County tell me they had partnerships set up for tobacco cessation and obesity prevention. Those partnerships are now almost certainly dead. The current budget year is the first time Johnson County accepted the state's Health First Indiana funding.
I had a feeling that we were not going to get fully funded as the State Department of Health had hoped we would, but I didn't realize the cut was going to be quite as drastic as it was.
State lawmakers had planned to set aside $100 million in each of the two upcoming budget years for local public health departments through the program. When revenue projections dropped, they cut that sum to $40 million each year.
Oh, we absolutely will not be able to provide some of the same programs that we're providing this year. Or I guess I should say we are not going to be able to fund the partnerships that we've formed.
They included tobacco cessation programs and Stop the Bleed and CPR classes for teachers and community organizations. Swearingen says after-hours care and weekend services also might be affected. Those state cuts came just weeks after the Trump administration froze federal public health dollars. That cost Johnson County a partnership to fund nurse examinations of sexual assault victims and an immunization grant. The Indiana Public Health Association says we lost about $400 million in federal public health funding in all.
They don't know, how they're going to keep their doors open. They don't know how they're going to keep their staff engaged and caring for their communities. In many of our counties, local health departments are the care. They are the entities that are making sure that people have food, people have housing, people aren't dying in the streets.
Swearingen says she'll still be able to perform basic services such as health inspections and vaccinations. And she says she does not expect she'll have to lay off any staff.
We have been good stewards with our finances in the past and have some residual funds still in our accounts. So we probably will focus some of those funds towards our programming, and we will always be pursuing opportunities to apply for grants, both federal and state grants and community grants that present themselves.
Those funding cuts aren't necessarily permanent. At the end of the legislative session, Senate President pro tempore Rod Bray told me if the revenue situation improves, lawmakers hope to expand public health funding again in the 2028 to 2029 budget. In Franklin, I'm Garrett Bergquist for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
Prosecutors say the mother of a 1-year-old found dead in a dresser at an abandoned house in Morgan County has agreed to a plea deal. Online court records show a change of plea hearing for Madison Marshall is set for tomorrow in Indianapolis. The Marion County Prosecutor's Office says that the 24-year-old has agreed to plead guilty to 2 criminal counts, including neglect of a dependent resulting in death. Prosecutors say they will recommend a total sentence of 25 years in prison. They confirmed that Marshall has agreed to testify against her boyfriend, Roan Waters. Waters is set to go on trial next month on charges of murder and neglect. Prosecutors say the 2 kidnapped Oaklee Snow and another boy from their biological father's home in Oklahoma back in January of 2023. Marshall told police that Waters killed Oaklee, then moved the girl's body to the abandoned house. Investigators say the boy was later found and returned to his father. In national news, President Trump is rolling back some of his auto tariffs. He signed 2 executive orders aimed at easing the pressure on the auto industry. It marks a big shift after automakers said the tariffs on imported vehicles and parts could cut into profits and hurt manufacturing here in the States. One of President Trump's orders changes its previous 25% auto tariff. This means it will be easier for vehicles made in the U.S. that use foreign parts to avoid the higher import taxes. The White House says a second Trump order will stop tariffs from being stacked on top of existing taxes for imported cars and parts. Let's talk sports. Tyrese Haliburton comes through when it counts, capping off an 8-point run in overtime with a game-winning layup. Just take a listen.
5 seconds, 4 seconds, Haliburton for the lead.
That was the moment that the Pacers edged out the Bucks with a 119-118 win last night, punching their ticket to the next round of the playoff series. It was redemption for Haliburton, who missed some key shots late in regulation that could have helped the Pacers seal a victory with a lot less drama. And things got heated after the final buzzer. A shoving match broke out between Pacers and Bucks players, and it all started when Haliburton's dad, John, ran onto the court and got right into the face of Bucks star Giannis Antetokounmpo. Tyrese says he did not see what happened until he watched the video in the locker room. After the dust settled, both Giannis and Tyrese talked about the exchange.
I've won the championship, they haven't, okay? And that doesn't say anything. I'm not trying to minimize their effort. Coming in the floor and showing me his son a towel with his face, this is what we do, this is what we effing do, this is the F we do, this. I feel like that's very, very disrespectful.
I think it's the emotions of the game just got excited there. But I talked with him. I'll talk with Giannis eventually about it. Just, I don't think that my pops was in the right at all there. And
early this morning, John Haliburton posted an apology on his X account to Giannis, the Bucks, and the Pacers. He says his running on the court was not a good reflection on our sport or my son, and I will not make that mistake again. When it comes to the weather, Storm Track 8 says we are in for a partly cloudy day with some scattered showers. Meteorologist Marcus Bailey has your News 8 Daily 8 forecast.
There are some areas that are dealing with a little bit of fog. It does not appear that that's an issue here in the city, nor do we expect that here. We'll keep an eye on it, though. Fog tracker 10 is the visibility in miles. That's perfect. That's as high as you can go, so we're in good shape across central Indiana. Most of the fog right now is kind of draped around the Cincinnati area, closer to Louisville. And I think now that we have hit daybreak, this should not be an issue here for the remainder of the morning. We do have rain chances today. I don't think it's the widespread rain that we had at times yesterday, but certainly once we head into the second half of the day, fair game that we could get a few isolated showers, maybe a few rumbles of thunder. We might ramp that up a little bit more late night into the overnight. But tracker's quiet. I think the next several hours are going to be very quiet as well. But you have a stationary boundary that's camping out down to the south, and it is in the neighborhood enough that you'll get these waves of energy that will ride along that boundary, and it agitates the atmosphere just enough to bring in some of these rain and thunderstorm chances here for this morning. But a great start. Again, we are a little cooler, right around 50 degrees, northeast wind at 9 miles per hour. So that has eased up quite a bit. It was quite breezy yesterday before some of those storms rolling in. A little cooler in places like Richmond at 46. Muncie, Kokomo, Lafayette at 47. Everybody else hanging out into the low to middle 50s. Not a bad day. 65 at noon. 71, not going to be as warm, not as muggy. And again, watch out for some of these storms coming our way for the second half of the day. May ramp that up for tomorrow as well. We'll talk about that. I think we quiet things down for a very busy weekend with mini marathon coming up. We'll talk more about that in my Storm Track 8 forecast coming your way in just a few minutes.
To get a peek at Marcus Bailey's full forecast, just head over to wishtv.com, or you can download the Wish TV Storm Track 8 app. And don't forget to check out our Storm Track 8 weather blogs. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 podcast for Wednesday, April 30th. I'm Jeremy Jenkins for Wish TV and wishtv.com.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast, a Wish TV News 8 update on demand. For even more, on demand and on the go, connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.